Okay, so I did the short end and now I did the long end as well. So one reason why it might be a little bit better to do it in the layers and sew each individual layer and then sew them together is so that things like this don't happen, where there's a gap because you couldn't really see that there was fabric apart there. Now that's easy enough to fix. I can just tuck it in and do a um, stitch that doesn't show much. So I still have the thread attached because I'm gonna sew the sides, the top and bottom now. But you can see if I were to just sew this as is, it would be way up in my eyes. So what I need to do is actually make a cut in the filter here so that this can come down and be like that. So I'm gonna just do that, and then I can pick that up there and just snip that right away. Same thing on this side, snip that away. So now I can fold this in. Actually, I want to do that opposite. Okay, you want to fold the back towards the front, and then the front towards the back. That way, the extra fabric is on the inside of the mask. So same thing on both sides. And then you can see we've already got the shape of the mask down. So now what I'm gonna do, forgot I was wearing glasses instead of sunglasses, is I'm just gonna attach this. So I'm gonna sew on this edge, and I can actually just, I don't have to go all the way through to this fabric. I just have to make sure I'm at least tacking this down to this very next layer here, because that'll keep everything nice and secured. But I'm going to start on this side because I already started on this side. So I'm going to do that real quick and I'll be back. Okay, so I have these nice and tacked down now. And I fixed the little part in the nose that was sticking out. So you can see now we have the shape of our mask done. You can see that you can adjust it a little bit, but that it covers the majority of your face. So now all that's left to do is put in the straps. And there's a couple different choices. You can do like I did in my last video and use elastics. You can use stretchy ribbon like I have here. Or just regular elastic, which is what I'm going to do. Because I feel like I'm going to save the fancy elastic for using the actual fabric. But I do have this like red stuff that would go really well with these rags, and I'm pretty sure that's the main reason I got the red. So, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do it. Charlie, now's not a good time for cuddles. Come on. Okay, so I'm going to use just regular old braided elastic. So I use a 9-inch piece and a 10-inch piece. The 9-inch is to go on your neck, the 10-inch is to go around your head. And actually, I think when I was wearing the mask yesterday, I can't find my tape measure, give me a second. It was behind the phone. So I'm gonna do 8 inches actually this time for the neck strap. 8 inches. It is sometimes hard to do sewing with cats around. They want to play with everything. But I heard a noise. Okay. And then 10 inches for the strap that goes around the head. Now where did I put the mask down at? It is in my lap. Charlie was on it. Okay, so this is the longer of the two straps. So it's going to go for around the head. Come on, man. Get down, please. He's such an affectionate little one. So, right back up. We're going to fold this in to create a nice little hem. And then we're just going to take our elastic and put it right inside the hem. And then we're going to sew across the edge here. And then before we get to the end here, we'll put this one in as well. So I'm going to do that real quick, and make sure you really go over that elastic to make sure the elastic is nice and secure. Okay, so one thing I wanted to mention is when you're doing these edges here, you don't want to just do a straight across. So, I mean, you can, but especially if you're using these rags or this type of loosely woven fabric, you want to stay on one side of the fabric, go through your tail, and just stay on that one side, which will create a stitch that leaves these little, not sure if it'll focus on it. I don't think it will, but it leaves these little lines to where they're attached. It's kind of what you would use to bind a quilt. Well, maybe not like a quilt, but it's what you would use if you were binding like a fleece blanket that's just made out of 2 pieces. So you just want to continue doing that until you get right to the edge, because then you want to make sure you put that other elastic in, and then you just do a normal stitch. So I'm going to continue doing this, and then all that's left is to attach them on the other side the same exact way. You want to make sure that you do it in the same place. You want to make sure the straps don't get crossed. You want to make sure they lay flat. But other than that, we are almost done. And if you're using quilting fabric to do this, you can use a sewing machine, no problem. But when you're using material like this that's so loosely woven, a lot of times a machine will just legitimately eat it right up. So I do have a sewing machine. I very rarely use it because I'd rather just sit here and hand sew while I watch TV. Okay, so that looks like that'll be the last stitch I can make. So I'm just going to attach the other piece of elastic. I'm going to cut that off. Same thing for this elastic. You just shove that right down on in there. And you can see we're so close to the elastic. I should have made that thread just a little bit longer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Well, I guess I haven't shown on video yet me actually securing one of the elastics, huh? Not that I don't have trust in you guys being able to sew elastic fabric. I mean, the people who are looking to do DIY aren't usually people who haven't sewed at all. But if you're new to sewing, this really isn't too hard of a project. I would recommend doing the other style first. Again, I would do a tri-fold on those instead of the quad fold that I did, because I feel like that made the mask less effective. So I would stick with just the tri-fold. Here, do what I'm going to call a blanket stitch, but I don't think it is called a blanket stitch. I think a blanket stitch is a little different. And I'm going to get as close to the elastic as I can with that type of stitch. And then just go right into doing just your absolutely normal stitch, the most common stitch, where you're just going in one side, out the other, back in through that same side. Repeat. My cat is snoring. So what I'm going to do on this last stitch is going to do one of those stitches to kind of finishing everything up. I'm going to make sure I get a nice little knot in there. So that is it on that side. So now I just got to do the same exact thing on this side, and then our mask will be done, and I will show you the final product. Okay, so I went ahead and I did the other side, and I'm going to take off my glasses because it's easier. But you can see now that it is finished. And it's nice and secure. There's no gaps on the side. It's nice and flush with my skin. There is a little gappage here, but without putting in a nose piece, there's no way to avoid that gap there. So there you go. That is it. And you can use all sorts of different materials for this. But the most important thing is to make sure that you have another filter fabric in there, because you want to have more than just one layer of fabric, and you want to have more than just one type of fabric too. So thank you. I hope that this was full of information for you. I hope it was easy enough to follow, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye.